If I gave a fuck what y'all think I would be doing this? Welcome to the FMFU podcast, the podcast that's from me, for us. Vulgar but true, real and never fake. I'm your host, Reese, and I've got a lot of shit on my mind today, so let's get into it. Happy Friday, people, and welcome to an all-new exciting episode of the From Me For Us podcast. And also, welcome to the first pod of February Black History Month. January was a long fucking month, bro. It seemed like January was like 90 days long. I don't even think my kids had a full week of school the whole month due to the ice and snow actually touching ground in Atlanta. Despite those reasonings, it was really made to feel like a long-ass month on top of that due to just all the craziness that was going on. We know Dump got elected, but this motherfucker just started going crazy with all the executive decision making, including firing all the FAA folks. All these plane crashes to me aren't really a coincidence. And I just really want to say, prayers to everyone who may have lost someone. Safe travels to anyone who may be getting on a plane recently, because flying is scary as is, but when all this crazy shit is going on in succession like that, it really gets you to thinking how, your life could be going at an instant, right? It's just really wild to me that, in the whole month of January, even prior to this motherfucker getting elected, like we had a domestic terrorist attack in New Orleans, a bombing in Vegas, wildfires all through California, Arctic blasts in the Midwest and the Southeast, of course, the plane crashes, and of course, the government, their main focus is abolishing DEI. But whatever. At the end of the day, I'm not beating a dead horse on political shit. I've stated before that there are some things that, I do agree with and need to change, but I think sweeping changes like this, including like trying to freeze federal funding, it really isn't good for any situation. It's kind of like in Infinity War where Thanos, he wanted to wipe out half of the population. In theory, it sounds good because, finite resources and too many fucking people. But economists have already said that, such a catastrophic event like snapping your finger with the Infinity Stones, ironically enough, that shit probably would bomb the economy because there's so many people that we depend on to run the country that we probably don't even realize it. I think we're seeing something in a similar fashion where, the mass deportations, it sounds good on paper, but if you think about all the people who get paid and still get taxes taken out of their checks, that's still money that's like not going to get paid back, to the Fed or to the state. Also, like to deport all of these people, nigga, that shit ain't free. It's not like ICE is doing this free of charge. Like it costs money to run any operation. And just like a small business that starts out, you normally don't turn a profit until, after a few years. Will a mass deportation equal out compared to what the cost is to actually deport them? I'm not a politically, economist motherfucker. So, I don't really have the answer to this, but making rash decisions is, I feel, never a good thing. I witness this in companies all the time, when working with business partners. End of the day, I think all we can, hope for is, the best and just really just see how things play out. Hopefully, it's not to a point where whatever damage is being done is irreversible in the year 2029. Damn. 2029 is crazy to think about. But anyways, it's Black History Month, even though every month is Black History, but we were just given the shortest one to celebrate. But I do have one thing that I do want to say about us when it comes to Black history.
It's the FMFU podcast.
I was having a conversation, and I don't know how or why this came about, but I was having a convo a while ago, and it really got me to thinking. So, I got to ask, why are all of our Black movies always about the same type of shit? What I mean by this is like, normally it's either about slavery, racism, drugs, or hood trauma. Like seriously, think about what your favorite Black movie is. Do the Right Thing. Deals with complex themes of prejudice and police brutality. 12 Years a Slave. The name speaks for itself. Boys in the Hood. That name speaks for itself. Malcolm X, Selma, The Help. It's always about some bullshit. Now, I do think it's very important for us to not forget our history and for the retelling of some of these true events to be put out there so people can understand a lot of these true incidents weren't a million years ago. And also because we see these states trying to wipe out all the bullshit that they did back in the day. So it's good to continue to bring a light to these issues. But man, it just seems like outside of Black Panther, associating black movies always means it's us dealing with some bullshit. Or it's Tyler Perry movies, which I love Tyler and everything he built himself to be, but those movies are all pretty fucking predictable. Except for them wigs. We need to work on that. Like, even thinking to myself, like, what is a good movie with black people that isn't considered a black movie? I'm not the movie buff, so I can't think off the top, but it's really hard for me to think of one quickly that isn't one of the classics that deal with those same themes I just mentioned. Maybe this is what happens when the backbone of what you come from is that. And, honestly, that is what gives us our strength, right? And that's why everybody wants to be us. But I thought it was an interesting point in why sometimes there might be scenarios where people don't even want to watch black movies because dealing with the reality of the nonsense in real time makes seeing it on TV not as enjoyable as maybe compared to someone who may need to see it to be educated compared to us who already know what we deal with. It's kind of like if I'm a train conductor and I'm watching a movie about a runaway train, it's probably not going to be as interesting because I know all the rules of how it would be actually if a train split in half and it wouldn't keep running and it would derail, like all that shit. So the movie experience isn't going to be as great. You know, maybe a bad comparison. I don't know, but something to think about. But anyways, let's get on to the news.
And now here's the news by A.O. Reese. Woohoo!
So UK rap artist Central C claims in an interview that he put America on to Nike tech. Honestly, I'm tired of motherfuckers who aren't from the culture always trying to claim they were first to initiate something about our culture. I don't really have much else to say about it, but we know that it's really a crock of shit and he needs to get over himself. I'm not gonna go on a crazy rant like everybody was and be all in shits and flames like, Twitter, but it is what it is. We are our own culture. I will say on the side note though, that Central C album, that joint was alright. It's pretty dope. I didn't really expect myself to like any of it. I'm not a big like UK rap artist guy. All that shit. But there are a couple tracks on there that I actually fuck with, especially the joint with 21 Savage. But, since we are discussing music, let's talk about it. The Grammys popped off last Sunday, and honestly, I actually didn't watch. I saw around 5 p.m. that, on social media, I seen that like they were announcing people were receiving awards. And I looked and I'm like, oh, let me put this on because I was like folding clothes and shit. But then I realized it didn't come until 8 o'clock. So I was like mad confused. I'm like, has this always been a thing where they like give out the awards early, like prior to the show? Either way, about 8 o'clock, by the time 8 o'clock came, I was on a game shooting shit, and I didn't watch it live because I'm too busy shooting shit, right? Probably yelling at motherfuckers for being stupid. So, I did want to recap, some of the awards that definitely already hit social media and everybody was talking about. So, Beyonce finally won Album of the Year for Cowboy Carter. Chris Brown finally won a Grammy for Best R&B Album for 11:11, which was well fucking deserved because that album was so fucking dope. On top of the concert and everything that I was able to attend last year, well fucking deserved. Kanye and his wife, they ain't win shit, but we won seeing her ass naked on the red carpet. Who doesn't love titties? Hey, but why is this nigga parading his woman around naked all the time? Like, I don't know what's going on over there, but whatever. We're going to leave that alone. Anyways, and then last, but, certainly not least, Kendrick snatched 5 of them things for Not Like Us. I think the categories were Record of the Year, Best Rap Performance, Best Rap Song, Best Music Video, and maybe Song of the Year, which, what's the difference between Record of the Year and Song of the Year? I don't know. Anyways, the internet, of course, still been pretty divided over this shit. It's been, almost a year now at this point, which is fucking crazy. And, I'm always been the biggest unbiased rap guy looking at everything objectively because I'm probably the only person in the world that can. But, I'll say like as an unbiased rap fan, like the song deserved multiple Grammys. Maybe not all 5, or if you disagree, all 5, I'd say at minimum it needed to win like best rap song and best rap performance because that Amazon shit on the Kenny Pop Out was the production alone. The shit was fucking amazing. So I don't see no rap performance beating that, and especially because everybody else was scared to fucking drop. And like, as much as Kendrick has got his Pulitzer Prize and all the Grammys, it's like what the most or second most now at this point, uh, outside I think Hove and Kanye who are tied. I think he's a great artist in his own right. But I mean, we got to be real. A lot of it was driven by the hype of the beef and also the backing of the metaphoric machine. It doesn't take away the fact of the artist that he is. It doesn't take away any of that at all. But we have to really understand that, in the words of my man, when the machine want to win, the machine's gonna like make you win no matter what.
It's the FMFU podcast, bitch.
But music, artistry in general is performative. So making that type of impact, no matter who's pushing it, then dropping the video right after and performing that amazing set on Amazon. I mean, that's going to snowball into major success, aka 5 Grammys. Or if you only think it's less than that, it's still going to be multiple, right? I just say, boy, about to be on a crazy fucking run because you got the Super Bowl coming up this week, the tour coming up with SZA, who also won a Grammy. So they're going to continue running this shit up into 2025. And I don't fucking blame them. Strike while the iron's hot. I'll definitely be at the Atlanta stop in that Delta fucking 360 club getting turned. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, that's really it with the Kendrick stuff. One thing I did see too, and I was kind of mad that I missed this, was they said my dog The Weeknd performed at the end after getting like a live apology from the Academy because he didn't get like no wins or nominations for one of his albums. I can't remember. So he was like, well, fuck y'all niggas. Like, I'm not submitting shit anymore. So, I thought that was dope. And especially because, he got that new album that just dropped and he got some joints on there that's, definitely going to be making it on the playlist. So, guess we'll see how time goes with this, especially with The Weeknd, and, see if this is really going to be his last album or if it's just one of those like fake retirement type situations. Time will tell. But I think that's all I really got for music though. But let's push music aside and let's dive into what is probably the biggest fucking topic right now, and that is sports. So I'm on the couch Saturday, about half fucking sleep around midnight. I'm bored. I'm not doing shit. I'm like, man, I'm about to just probably pass out and go to bed. Laying there, getting one last scroll through my Twitter feed, and I see a tweet from ESPN that says, breaking. The Dallas Mavericks are trading Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. Sources tell Shams, 3-team deal that includes Utah. Nigga, I instantly wake the fuck up and pop up off the couch like, nigga, what? Because this shit just didn't make any sense to me. So, I'm refreshing ESPN's Twitter page like 10 times because I thought it was a fake report on some like NBA Intel type shit. I think everybody who first saw this shit thought it was fake. But after Shams reposted it again and said, yes, this shit is 1,000% true, I was mind blown. I instantly turned to ESPN to hear what they're talking about and see what the details of the trade were. Of course, the main topics being the big two, but they also said that they had to get a third team involved. So, as those two trades went with the Mavericks, again, they got AD, Max Christie, 2029 Lakers first round pick. The Lakers get Luka, Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris, and then the third team that had to be involved was the Jazz, who got Jalen Hood, Shafino, 2025 Clippers second round pick, and a 2025 Mavericks second round pick. So I'm like, damn, and of course, everybody, oh my God, emergency pod, oh my God. And, I thought about it, but I'm like, yeah, let's just let it marinate a little bit and let's see what happens. So it's been some days now, of course, especially depending on when you're listening to this. But as of recording, it's still been some days. And I'll just say, after giving this some time to marinate and, not give a instant shock take, I'll go on a limb and say this is probably the biggest trade in NBA history. Yeah, I'm probably beating the same drum that everyone else is saying, but I think I really assessed it, and it's probably not just shock value to say that. And I will say, if we don't want to say it's the biggest because, we don't know what the outcome or the return is going to be from the transaction on either side, then I'll buy that and still say that this is probably the most shocking trade in NBA history. So people, I saw some people made a list and they were like, oh, well, LeBron going to the Heat and KD going to the Warriors because those were both technically trades. But I still don't think it fits the magnitude of this one here, only because 9 times out of 10, we knew they were leaving their current situations. The Luka shit is so much more of a shocker because, like, if you don't know, like, Luka, along with Kyrie, just carried that team to the finals last year. And he's only 25 years of age. Homegrown, drafted by them, and always in the conversation for MVP. Like, shit like this just doesn't fucking happen. Like, the only equivalency of this I think that I can give that maybe would be brought to this magnitude is maybe like first stint Cleveland LeBron being traded when he was like 25. He might have had already an MVP by then, but it's probably a good equivalent to that. And this isn't to say that Luka's ever going to be LeBron, but I mean, he's on a trajectory to be a top player ever, right? And yeah, probably the only shocking comparison I would think of. Luka been in the league for 5 years. As a 20-year-old, Brown came in basically 19 as your franchise cornerstone guy. That would be very, very fucking shocking. So I guess the question that everybody's still wondering, even though the reports have been out there, but you really want to think to yourself, putting yourself in the GM shoes, like, why would you do that shit? Why would a team who has a young MVP candidate as their future just trade them the fuck away? Honestly, I'm only going to assume on some real life nigga shit that the Mavericks and Luka just got major fucking beef and they was tired of his shit. So what is the shit? I mean, I think the shit they're tired of consists of what everybody's saying: lack of conditioning, at least according to the reports. Hookah Doncic and lack of wanting to work out. That's gonna keep them pounds on you. And as a hooper, when you gain weight, it's easier for you to have small tissue injuries and be inconsistent in playing by missing a lot of games. The video that came up though was funny that resurfaced, the one with Michael Finley, former NBA player, now the Mavs VP and assistant GM. He took the Teddy Bruschi out of Luka's hand after they won the Western Conference championship last year, and it's like playful because it's like, damn, bro, I'm just trying to have my drink. But honestly, they was probably sick of that shit then. And Luka probably doesn't think like that because it's a cultural thing, right? So like, it could have been a cultural clash of expectations between a European basketball player and a team of National American Basketball Association players. Was money a factor? If a player meets certain criteria, they're eligible to sign a supermax extension. Luka would have been eligible for a supermax contract, potentially worth $345 million over 5 years. Since he changed teams by getting traded, this disqualifies him from that. He can only sign a 4-year, $229 million deal, which means this trade cost him $116 million. I'm like, I don't know, by knowing he misses games and isn't in shape and not being confident he can carry you to a championship, does this type of shit trickle over to him not wanting to pay him the supermax if he isn't dependable and can't get them over the hump? I don't know, man. I'm assuming some of these answers will come out eventually, way, way, way down the line after the dust settles, like years from now. But I know if I'm Luka, it's fuck the Mavs for life. Like, I don't know, like that's crazy, nigga. Apparently they said he just bought a crib, which you can sell the crib, sure, but y'all niggas cost me 116 M's. Man, it's fuck y'all niggas. I don't know what's worse, costing me being in Luka's shoes, costing 116 M's, or that Isaiah Thomas situation in Boston where they traded that nigga when he was about to get a max contract. Like, either way, man, it would be fuck them for both of them. As far as how, this is going to work for the Mavericks, I think they're going to make a good run. I mean, it's not like they didn't get a superstar back. They did get AD back. Him and Kyrie, I think, will work well. Including Max Christie was coming along for the Lakers, and also he can go back to playing the 4. So I think they'll make a good run. Currently I think they're sitting at like the 8th seed. Ironic enough, when they just played Cleveland on Sunday, they just had like 4 people out on injury. I think Washington was out, Gafford was out, Lively was out, Powell, Kyrie, like everybody was fucking out. So bringing AD, who ironic enough is out with an abdominal strain. The doctors in Dallas gonna be working overtime to make sure no motherfuckers can stay healthy. But it'll be fun to watch Kyrie and AD. It should be a show, especially with AD going back to the 4 like he had just said he wanted. but I don't know how deep they'll go. Pause. Like I don't. Um, eighth seed now would make them be a play-in team. I think they'll make it out of the play-in and get to at least a top 6 spot. But it's hard for me to say, oh yeah, they're definitely going to the finals or anything. I haven't even really been keeping up with ball like that, to be honest with you. So it's really hard for me to do a big determination of what I think and who I think's going where. I just pretty much know who's been balling in the 1 and 2 seeds in the East and West. And for the most part, it seems like those are the most complete teams. So you kind of got to just defaultly go with them. But when you got superstars, superstars elevate you. So Kyrie is a superstar. 80's won the championship. They done been with the guy and learn how to win. So we'll see if they can get with each other and go on a crazy run. So ultimately, we'll see how far they go. And hopefully, all the injuries slow down so they can have success going forward here in the future.
It's the FMFU podcast, bitch.
Let's look at the Lakers side of things. Like, why would the team who won a chip with a generational player who has been the number one option, anchor for your lack of defense, why would they trade him away? Like, I haven't seen too many reports from the Lakers side of things. Of course they've talked about him mentioning the future, but really like sitting back and just looking at it objectively. And a lot of these thoughts came to me before I let it marinate, but they kind of stayed the same. And I kind of felt like the only reason you conclude this based on reporting of how this went down is that, AD being gone really is just uh, a byproduct of Luke and the Mavericks, having beef. Because, if the Mavs didn't put Luka on the auction block, this probably wouldn't happen. They're the ones that sent the Lakers the metaphoric DM and said, hey, babe, let's make something happen. I'm assuming that the Lakers felt with LeBron being 40 and his future being unknown that AD can't carry the Lakers by himself. This is, based on history of himself in New Orleans and history of most bigs in general needing a guard or a once in a lifetime player. Giannis needed Drew Holiday. Shaq needed Kobe then Wade. Kareem got himself one. I think he played with Oscar though, didn't he? I can't remember. I'm not that old. But I mean, he needed Magic for the other 5. If Brown was to retire in a year or so, AD, Reeves, and whatever other random guards they got won't gonna give him a chance to make a run for a championship. So, they haven't really been able to do that shit with Bron still putting up numbers. So, like the Lakers, as a franchise and the biggest basketball brand, looked at Luka as, and actually the Pelinka quote here, one of a kind, young global superstar who will lead this franchise for years to come. His killer instinct and commitment to winning championships will be a driving force for the team. We will be relentless in building a roster around the on-court vision of Coach Reddick, who has it for basketball and an unwavering commitment to the work to serve our loyal and dedicated fans, blah, 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 blah. So to me, it just really sounds like a team that, they're looking to keep themselves relevant now while simultaneously building for the future with one of the league's bright young stars. I wholeheartedly understand that move when it's put that way. But for somebody who's the biggest LeBron fan, I mean, I just feel like this doesn't really address the issues that they've had since winning the championship in 2020. And basically, it says to me that they're throwing in the towel of not only the AD era, but the LeBron era too. Like, I'm pretty blunt by saying that, like, I don't really care about the Lakers as a franchise at all. I have no affiliation with LA. I've never been to California. But I am the biggest LeBron James fan there is, one of them. So I always want him to succeed in whatever he do, Northeast Ohio shit. Like, I've been beating this drum for a while, and I've been telling everybody in the game, wherever. I've never been the greatest basketball player, but I've been somebody who's been able to sit back and study and learn and just kind of just see obvious shit that I don't understand how GMs don't see. They won a championship and they had a formula, but they just never went back to a team built similarly to how they won the chip in the first place. Like that Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee signing were like the key pieces in them winning it all for multiple reasons. I mean, we got to think about this too. LeBron's never played with a dominant center, like ever. Like, I don't even remember who was in Miami. But even prior to that, he played with washed up Shaq in Cleveland. Then coming back to Cleveland, he played with, who was it? Tristan was technically the center, who was basically his same size. Great fucking player, but not a dominant center like even if you consider AD, Dwight, whoever. So for when he had those two for his repertoire, especially because he was playing as the point guard and handling the ball and was able to pass and average double-digit assists, man, he had the motherfuckers to dunk all over the place and let AD play the four. Man, that combination between those easy buckets for them easy assists, which equals wins, and that combination of those bigs that can swarm the Joker in the playoffs to slow him down, not necessarily stop him, it was the recipe for success. But after winning the chip, yo, these niggas changed the whole fucking team up for Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, and like Marc Gasol. Schroeder was a great pickup for sure. Like, good guard, could play defense. Montrez was too small. You saw that shit in the Clippers versus Nuggets series when Denver came back from a 3-1 deficit, nigga too little. And then Gasol couldn't stop a fucking nosebleed that came into the paint. Guards used to eat him up, pause. Like, he couldn't guard shit. They was licking their chops to go in the fucking paint with Marc Gasol. Like, who gives a fuck that he's Paul's brother and he can pass? You don't need him to pass when you got LeBron James. Like, you need a motherfucker who can block, play some good defense, and get in the way of a motherfucker. Like, it was shocking, but not totally surprising that they got bounced by Phoenix in the first round because of the way that Ayton was hooping. And then, of course, you know, AD and I think Bron wasn't fully healthy either. You know? But ironically enough, if we think about this, you know, a week or so ago prior to this AD Luka trade, AD does an interview saying that, you know, hey, we need a big. I'd like to play the four. I think we're one piece away. So if AD is saying they're one center away from being a serious championship contender, you know the guy with the highest basketball IQ in the history of the sport feels the same way. So for all you nerds out there, I would say, why the fuck would Bron know about and or orchestrate this trade to get AD for Luka, who plays zero defense, and Tatum and Brown were running around him last year in the finals like a cone? The whole Bron is the GM shit after 20 years is kind of tiring. I know a lot of y'all are like Kobe dick eaters, RIP, or Jordan can't let go of the 90s because they were in my heyday ass niggas. But Bron can't be the GM of everything that happens, especially in this previous stated scenario, because it really doesn't make any basketball sense. I also think that you can't say that all the bad stuff is his fault, but then all the good stuff is good job GM, or vice versa. It's got to be all or nothing, right? And if you know the motherfucker got the high basketball IQ, I would assume he would know that we need a big. That's my man's. We need him at the four, and then we need to get a big and bring some more niggas in, motherfuckers. Like, oh, he's fond of Luka. He knew. I mean, you can be fond of a player, but I don't think that means that, you know, subtracting AD and adding Luka is going to solve the gaping issues that's always been there. Like, these motherfuckers don't have a good enough center. And AD, who used to clean up a lot of the defense, isn't there to clean up anymore. And the finals were clear as day that Luka and even another great scorer can't get it done when the opposing team has two superstars. Y'all don't think Bron see this shit? Man, the LeBron GM shit to me, honestly, and this is why I'm kind of like always annoyed about this. It's so bad that the reporters, they have to report out that he didn't know. Like, that's how bad social media got, because so many people get their journalism from social media now. The real life journalists that are in the field have to report that he didn't know. He found out at dinner after he just dropped 30 at the Garden, just to make sure that the motherfuckers on the internet don't run around with a false narrative. He even had to refute and call this CBS reporter a clown and a liar for saying he had grown frustrated with AD. I don't know how, you know, someone can be frustrated with the leading scorer and the anchor of the defense. But looking at it now, like, where does this lead the Lakers in their chances? You know, we talked about the Mavs. What about the Lakers? Lakers are currently the 5 seed. Luka is out with a calf injury. So similar to the Mavericks, I have no idea how this is going to shake out. But, you know, as with the Mavs, I'm not putting the Lakers in the finals. Most people who really know basketball feel that way, you know, and probably still to this day, even a week later, you're scratching your head confused that, like, yo, this trade don't really make no sense if you're trying to compete for a chip now. And, you know, I think as a big Bron fan, man, bro, hey, it's time to go, bro. LA nice. I know the family there. It's time to get the fuck out of there and, you know, go home with Bronny or link up with the light skinned nigga in the Bay. The Lakers as a franchise has always been a cesspool since 2013. And I feel like they were only brought back to relevancy due to to LeBron deciding to go there in 2018. And if he didn't bring that chip there in 2020, the Lakers will continue to be a bottom feeder. The team ain't really been ran the same since Dr. Bus passed, which ironically enough was a couple years after Kobe won his last chip. Magic pulling the plug without notifying anybody, Pelinka being on his weirdo shit. If the Lakers don't put more pieces together, it's time for the king to dip out. Clearly, these moves are about the future and not now. So go run with the stuff and give the world what they want to see. And hold the fuck up. Speaking of running one up with stuff, I got some breaking fucking news. So apparently, they're saying that the Heat finalizing a deal to send Jimmy Butler to Golden State. They're sending Jimmy to Golden State for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first round pick. So Jimmy did all that bitching and complaining about not wanting to be there. Looked like he going to San Francisco with Steph. They were able to keep Draymond, but they did get rid of Wiggins. It's interesting. I don't see them going to no chip either, but it'll make things interesting. So, I guess we'll see how things play out. There might be some other shit that comes out after this recording, but yeah, latest news: Jimmy going to Golden State. I know Wade's probably Saudi. That nigga's like a Heat fan and shit. I'm like, Heat fan. You a D Wade fan? Fuck out of here. But yeah, that's basketball. So let's see what happens. So transitioning from some basketball and the Luka news and the Jimmy Butler news, this kind of hits me in the heart. Saw the report earlier this week that according to his own tweet, Myles Garrett requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. I'm a diehard Cleveland everything. It's my hometown. We talk about this all the time. I'm not delusional like fucking Cowboy or anywhere else fans. So like honestly, I don't fucking blame you, Myles. But Myles Garrett been such a big staple of relevancy for the Browns. Since he's came into the league and been a hella professional and keeping the team relevant in regards to defense and what they've been able to do for those couple years that they did make it to the playoffs, even though like last year when they made it, they got smacked. But 2 playoff appearances in the last 5 years just isn't going to do it. And then really, even if you think about it in a bigger picture from before him, that's 2 playoff appearances in like 25 years. And that's just ass. It's just not it. I understand what the Browns did with the whole Baker stuff. We talked about that, before. If I'm Baker, I'm laughing like y'all niggas thought. But basically, yeah, it's get out, bro. I don't blame you. Request a trade, try to get with a contender, defensive player of the years and shit like that. Individual accolades matter, but it don't mean a thing without that ring. So I don't blame you for wanting to dip the fuck out, get the fuck out of there and go somewhere that's going to really, help you get in position to compete on a high level. Cause, if you're real particular about your craft, you don't want to be just playing for 5 and 12 or whatever the fuck every year. Like, don't nobody want to do that. But yeah, I think also in the NFL news they said Cooper Kupp, they're about to get them up out of there with the Rams. So I guess we'll see what happens. But it's gonna be a lot of NFL offseason shit ramping up. And yeah, we're finally here with Super Bowl Sunday with the Chiefs at the Eagles. And I don't really do, I guess it's a kind of a first time thing. Not even a first time things. I'm not, but I don't really do predictions and shit like that. I don't really have a rooting interest per se, as far as like, oh my God, I want this person to win. Da, 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 da. Like I don't have a dog in the fight. But I think, if I do have to pick a team and be completely honest, I'm trying to see history. Philly winning would be cool for Jalen and Saquon and all those boys for sure, but it just doesn't really change shit. To be able to see a three-peat, In the NFL, Brady wasn't even able to do that. Or the old school Steelers or the 49ers. Nobody been able to do that shit. So the shit is history. So like, no matter how you feel about any of the teams or whatever, what you're watching is shit is greatness. And with no rooting interest, I'm not a diehard. I'm not like how y'all were with Golden State buying Steph jerseys and crazy shit. But hey, I like to see it. I just want to see it happen. I think it would be very interesting. Niggas can win 3 in a row and fall off a fucking cliff. I don't really care. Also, Kareem Hunt is from around my way. He got family from around my way. Also has some people that's from around my way that played in the first championship they won. So it's kind of like always been some type of Ohio affiliation. Everybody know Travis Kelsey from Cleveland Heights too, but not just him, but like his others. That's like from like not just Cuyahoga, but like Lorain County and shit. So I look at that too. So I'm happy for Kareem because he went through a lot of shit with all the bullshit and then came to the Browns camp, but he get an opportunity. So that's part of it too. But I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't really care. Um, guess we'll just see what happens. Hope that halftime show is lit. I'm sure it's gonna be. Get niggas amped up for the concert in April and take it from there. So what picks y'all got in, man? I need some prize picks because I tell you one thing, man. I was hitting for a minute, then I started losing for a minute, and I need to hit something real big this weekend, pause, because I got way too many fucking trips lined up this year, and I need a little bit more cheddar cheese to cover that shit. You feel me? Word. Thanks for listening to the FMFU podcast. Follow me on Facebook at FMFU Experience. I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at FMFU_experience. Also check me out on Twitch for some Warzone action at Reese Pup 007. Remember people, life is a series of choices. Just make sure you make the right one. Peace.